It's Monday, July 6th, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. It will take approximately 6 months and $45 million Barbados dollars to rectify the water woes facing St. John constituents. Director of Engineering at the Barbados Water Authority, Charles Leslie, made the disclosure at a town hall meeting at Gall Hill, St. John last night. Addressing the meeting attended by frustrated residents who complained of having no access to tap water for months and unreliable truck water services, as well as exorbitant water bills, Leslie explained that the BWA was looking at a number of solutions to upgrade the infrastructure in a bid to rectify the water problems currently affecting the constituency.
So for instance, at Bowmanston, we've been getting lots of power outages there, so we've installed a standby generator, and that has been operational for a couple of months as well. In these two Sweetville boreholes, we've installed standby generation there as well. And on top of that now, we're looking at bringing additional water from some of those areas that where water exists. So for instance, we have wells in the Groves in St. Philip. We recognize that those wells are not as badly affected as the ones up here in St. John. And what we're doing is moving some of that water from Groves in St. Philip through into the St. John area. That particular project is actually about to start in a couple of weeks' time, and you will be seeing mains being laid from Vineyard in St. Philip all through to Mount Pleasant, and then from Mount Pleasant all along the main roads up here to Colleton. Additionally, that's one source that we're looking at adding additional water into the system. We've been also looking at upgrading our desalination plant. You would have heard that the desalination plant at Spring Garden was upgraded last year. We've increased the desalination process there, and we've moved from 30,000 cubic meters today to 4,500 cubic meters. And we are moving that through Lancaster, through Apesville, into the Casa Grande area.
He said the solutions would be costly.
In total, all of the mains replacement that we are doing, focusing in this particular area, in the St. George and the St. John area, we're going to be looking at approximately $45 million Barbados dollars in terms of mains upgrades. In terms of the standby generators that we have installed, we're looking at about $500,000. And in terms of the pumping station upgrades, this is the pumping stations at Lancaster, Apesville, and as far back as Lazaretto, we're looking at about $1.2 million upgrades in those pumping facilities.
BWA General Manager Dr. John Omwanza told the meeting the project for moving water from St. Philip to St. John would take time.
There is no magic wand. I will not sit here and tell you the impossible. For us to transfer water from Vineyard into St. John, it is a 5 to 6 month project. So we will get that water here by December, January.
However, this did not appease frustrated residents who addressed the BWA officials along with Minister of Water Resources Wilfred Abrams and Chair of the Board Leodine Worrell, as well as the MP Charles Griffith. Here's what some had to say.
It is not fair to us. It is not fair. We are talking, women are talking in Colleton, they don't have water for 5 months. Why do we have to pay a water bill? That is why do we have to pay a water bill for 5 months and we're not getting any water? Why should I have to pay $100 and my water bill comes in to be paid at $194 and I have no water by 11:30 in mornings? Why is it?
My children are not here. All of them are overseas. And this, as the old people would say, I work my tail off and this is what I have to come to in this parish? No, it's not good. I had enough of it. St. John, St. Joseph. Listen, Christchurch is more populated. St. Michael, St. James, and St. Philip. More populated, big, large, used houses, using more water than us. Hotels. Only we have a drought. Only these parishes have a drought.
This job was on for a while. All when was working, this job was on. And no, gentlemen, and I work there, and I work to make sure people get water. But they got people that telling you, we don't touch this and don't touch that, so people can't get the water. Get up and smell the coffee.
From Cleveland, St. John, and it has been 5 months straight that we have not received running water, not a drop from our taps. Is it possible that at least some amount of times of the week that we can get running water? School is about to start, but exams about to start. Please.
The COVID-19 pandemic is far from over, and residents must continue to act responsibly. The reminder from Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George, as the country recorded a new COVID case on Saturday when a female passenger on board a repatriation flight from the United States tested positive on arrival at the Grantley Adams International Airport. The American woman, who is resident in Barbados, was transferred to the isolation facility at Harrison Point, St. Lucie. Dr. George said, as the island readied itself to reopen the airport to international flights, there was a possibility that new cases will be recorded. As such, he said it was important for residents to continue to protect themselves. In other news this Monday, we continue with reaction to calls for Blackout Tuesday in Barbados. The event is encouraging black consumers to patronize black businesses in order to use economic power to fight racial injustice and economic disparity. But addressing the issue last night on Barbados Today's virtual discussion on race relations, political scientist Peter Wickham said Barbados should avoid mimicking all things from the U.S. as it is not relevant in the Bajan context.
My question is, on Tuesday, am I supposed to not shop at Shafet? Is Shafet a black business? Is Abed's a black business where Brother Babulia works? Am I supposed to go to Carlton and A1 and shop there, or not Purity? How does K Shepherd fit into that whole argument? What about Williams Industries and all the businesses that Williams Industries own? Am I supposed to identify persons who have white ownership but are married to black people, or alternatively white ownership and black management? The whole argument in the case of Barbados, to me, is I think we would be better spending our time saying, let us look for indigenous businesses, small businesses. There was a guy who had a shop, a store, a restaurant on the South Coast that sold exclusively vegan food. He has now closed down. I think that is the kind of business that we should be saying, that especially in this post-COVID environment. Let's look if we can spend some money with those types of businesses, and let's see if we can help those people along. But the idea of saying we're not spending money with white people on Tuesday, look, Barbados is not a place where that kind of argument should be entertained. As I said, it is kind of mimicking what the Americans are doing, and to me, it makes absolutely no sense.
Secretary of the Barbados Muslim Association, Suleiman Bulbulia, said rather than any blackout of businesses, the focus should be on providing support for small businesses so they can grow.
And I think the conversation here in Barbados is where is that support given to? And so I think the conversation should be where is our money going in terms of on which businesses are we building up? And I think the conversation about helping the smaller business person to build themselves is what this conversation should be about, where we are channeling our funds and our money towards those persons who are building their businesses up now from scratch, and the smaller business person, as much as we can give towards that and spend our money there to help those who are coming along. But it is also important what Peter said, that a lot of the bigger businesses as well employ hundreds of Barbadians as it relates to their business. Hundreds of black Barbadians and other races as well. East Indians do work for people. They're not all self-employed. Whites work for other people as well. They're not all self-employed or business owners. So you also understand that the conversation in Barbados is different than, say, for example, in North America.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region, public health restrictions put in place due to the COVID-19 pandemic will not impact the rights of voters to exercise their franchise in Trinidad and Tobago. The assurance from the Chief Medical Officer after Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's announcement that Election Day will be on August 10th.
When you go to a polling station to actually vote, if you have noticed, there is social distance that is applied even before this public health measure. You can't be a certain distance away from the person in front of you. So that already exists.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Pasram, during the Health Ministry's COVID-19 update, responding to a question regarding Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's announcement in the House of Representatives on Friday that the 2020 general election will be held on August 10th. That's just over 5 weeks from now, as voters are to follow certain COVID-19 public health restrictions at the polling stations on Election Day.
There's supposed to be no congregation in the vicinity, so that exists as well, which is part of the recommendation. So I don't see it being completely different from what has happened in the past. There's a further emphasis on hand washing, sanitizing, face shields and masks, which would not have been there in the past.
To news from the region, public health restrictions put in place due to the COVID-19 pandemic will not impact the rights of voters to exercise their franchise in Trinidad and Tobago. The assurance from the Chief Medical Officer after Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's announcement that Election Day will be on August 10th. And finally, Florida surpassed 200 cases of COVID-19 on Sunday, following the 4th of July holiday, during which the state recorded its most cases reported in a single day. The spike follows concerns by health experts that holiday parties would cause a further spike in infections that could ultimately overwhelm hospitals. According to a Reuters tally, in the first 4 days of July alone, 15 states have reported record increases in new cases of COVID-19, which has infected nearly 3 million Americans and killed about 130,000. That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.